Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Code Pudding. My name is Tiffany Hall. I'm an alumni of TripleTen Software Engineering Program, a full stack engineer and product owner. And I am very excited because tonight I get to be the host of TripleTen's September Code Pudding. I'm very excited to see all of the people who could join us and watch us live, all the students who are able to join, and then thank you for also watching on replay later if you weren't able to join us live. Okay, so if you are new, let's talk about what a code pudding is. A code pudding is a friendly competition that occurs for our students during their normal coursework, and they're very short, just a few days, where all of the students are going to get together and then they get the data sets, they get the prompt, and they start putting in the work. Pudding. Hasid, that's the joke, man. All right, so all of our teams tonight have been working for the last week. They have been working on two parts. The first part is the working with the data in the presentation. So they were divided into teams and challenged to create visual essays that is using the provided data sets. We gave them the data sets. They didn't have to hunt for them. It's not like a hunter-gatherer situation. They only had 5 days. And then tonight, they're going to show off their projects to all of you. And in the next week, the judges are going to review them and evaluate both the data part and the presentation. All of our results will be posted on the Hub on October 3rd or our socials. That is also another place you can see them if you're not a student of ours just yet. Speaking of, it's a great opportunity to remind everybody that is watching. If you are a student of ours, you can vote for your favorite team tonight by selecting their name in the poll that will be on the TripleTen Hub. If you're not a student of ours just yet, you can go ahead and write the name of your favorite team in the live chat, or if you're watching this on replay, you can put it in the in the comments below. Code on the brains. All right, that is how they will get an audience award. And naturally, Sharkbait, my cat, is in charge of those prizes. So hopefully you get cheese and not a dead mouse. I make no promises, though. All right, let's talk to our teams. We have three teams today, which is very exciting. Our first team of the evening is going to be Player One, and that team is Brittany Williams, David Zetto, and Courtney Ignis. Take it away.
Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. This is Player One Analytics, and we'll be presenting on leveling the playing field, insights for small developers. I myself is Brittany Williams. I have Courtney Ignace and David Zetto. We are Player One Analytics, and today we're here to talk about how small game developers can level the playing field in a market dominated by major studios. Our mission is to use data to uncover what makes players engage and how you can compete smarter, not just bigger. The PC gaming world is crowded. Thousands of games fight for visibility per year. Big studios have money for ads, influencers, and strategic launches. But small developers, you've got creativity, but fewer resources. That's why we've turned to evidence based insights by analyzing over 131,000 PC games from Metacritic. We looked at what players value, when they are most active, and how review volume influences scores. And the patterns we find can help you make smarter decisions. The problem is clear: market saturation, too many title chasing, too few eyes, unequal resources like major studios dominating marketing and timing, and unclear success factors. Indie teams often don't know what actually moves the needle. Our goal is to bring clarity so you can compete strategically, even with little budgets. Our data set comes from Metacritic, covering, like I said, over 131,000 PC games between 2013 and 2023. We pulled fields like the genres, release dates, user reviews, and user scores, the meta scores, publishers, and developers. With this data, we tested key hypotheses about genre, release timing, user engagement, and how critics and players diverge. Here's what we set out to explore. Do some genres constantly earn higher user scores? Does release timing affect visibility and reviews? Do more reviews actually boost scores? How do critics and players differ in judging quality? And do factors like art style and viewpoint shape reception? Let's see what the data told us. First, genre matters. Action and RPGs dominate players' attention. Niche genres, they struggle unless innovation makes them stand out. Second, timing matters. Fall releases get the most views, but beware, that's when major titles flood the market. Summer is the weakest. For indies, spring or summer may be smarter bets. And engagement matters. More reviews almost always equal higher scores. Early buzz translate into lasting visibility.
Thank you, Brittany. Now diving into critical reception versus user reception. We did this analysis with eyes towards how small developers can leverage an understanding of what they receive from critical pre-release reviews, and how these interact with the actual user reception. So here on the left, we see average critical review compared to average user reviews, and you can see that the average points difference is only 5.9 points. It's not very significant, but moving on to that same data as it's separated by critical status or the consensus throughout games across critical and user reviews, we see that generally in mixed reviews and in overwhelming dislike, the consensus is pretty similar, but it diverges greatly, in universal acclaim and generally favorable categories, meaning that critics and users generally agree when a game is bad. However, they do not agree when a game is good. We can move on to the next slide. Yes. So now looking at small game developers on the right and big game developers on the left. Here again, we're looking at the average critical review versus the average user review. The average critical reviews are blue and the average user reviews are yellow. So in the case of big game developers, generally critics favor the games more than users, but only in the case of small game developers do we ever see user reviews surpass that of critical reviews. So we can take this as a sign that small game developers should develop a rapport with their audience. Rapport matters. And then we're going to move on to genre. Looking at this same data, genre definitely matters. Small game developers should pay attention to which genre their game falls into and understand how critical reviews impact and are indicative of user reception accordingly. And you can find links to more of this data on our GitHub, which is linked in this presentation. And now I'm going to pass it off to David for his part.
Hi, my name is David. I'll be going over the next 3 slides. Right here, I have a scatter plot divided by 4 quadrants for average score. The Warcraft and Richer game are doing pretty well. The Persona 5 Royale game is actually a pretty popular game, but lower visibility, probably because the difference between those out of the 4 is because it's within the cartoon/anime graphics range that most players may not find that too appealing. Next is the lower left quadrant. The Ride to Hell game is the least scored because many online users have been experiencing difficulties, and some gamer computers may lack sufficient hardware or any other technical difficulties that may be addressed, which is probably why the lack of low score here. Next, I wanted to go over the bar graph. I wanted to share, I had to add a calculated field in Tableau by using the number of critics reviews and a number for reviews to tone down the noise and all the numbers and datas in our Excel. And finally, I added a complex filter because there was a lot of bars, and to tone it down to 10, I did the top 10. Next, I have the line graph. The Bethesda software has a good continuous line of up to 80 plus Metascore, so they are doing all right so far. Unlike the Atari, however, the Atari is experiencing significant decline, and over the next 7 years, it just didn't recover or didn't have any activity. Makes you wonder what's the root cause. It can be budget constraints or development quality. The stakeholder might even want to think about why they are struggling and what they need to do to maintain standards. And that should be it for me. I'll leave it the rest to my teammate. Thank you.
What should small developers do? They should target genres smartly, either compete in action, RPG, or innovate in a niche market. Release strategically, avoid big studios that release heavy in the fall, spring, or winter, offer more opportunities. Boost early engagement, betas, influencers, community outreach. Prioritize user experience. Polish matters more than just flash, and leverage nuances, monitor early critic sentiment, and use distinct art styles to stand out. To wrap up, competing with recommendations. Um, Target genre smartly, either compete with, I'm sorry, I messed up. For key findings, genre matters. Action RPGs dominate, but niche innovation works too. Timing matters. Fall is loud but risky. Engagement matters. More reviews equal better scores. Critiques and user diverge. Small developers can flip the script by focusing on polish. Nuances matter. Critic previews and art styles can shape reception in surprising ways. Now, recommendations. Target genre smartly. Either compete in action or RPG or innovate in a niche market. Release strategically. Avoid big name studios who release in the fall. Spring or winter offer more opportunities. Boost early engagement. Betas, influencers, or community outreach. Prioritize user experience. Polish matters more than just flash. Leverage nuances. Monitor early critic sentiment and use distinctive art styles to stand out. Now, to wrap things up, competing with major studios isn't about outspinning them. It's about being smarter with timing, sharper with polish, and closer to your players. If you understand what players' values and use data to guide your strategy, you don't just survive in this crowded market, you thrive. Thank you.
All right, that was great. I really love the style of that slide deck. So, whatever slide decks that is, I really love that style. I think it's super dynamic. Let's talk about really cool business recommendations you guys were able to come up with. Super actionable, really wonderful taking that data. How did you guys decide as a team what? Because we just give them all of the data, just so you know at home. We just give them data and we're like, y'all figure it out, make a thing. So how did you guys as a team figure out what was going to be the questions you were going to answer?
So initially, we all took a stab of just looking at the data, reviewing it, cleaning it, and coming up with our approach. And we all agreed in the matter of if I was a small developer, what would help me in this crazy market? Because there were thousands of games and on different consoles, and we all agreed we knew PC the most, so we went with the PC data, even though it was like 8 or 9 different consoles. So we went that route. Courtney, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, yeah, just kind of jumping off of that. It was a really huge data set. Even we liked PC because it had a lot of it had a lot of data, but it was also like we weren't looking at all of the consoles. Were just looking at PC. We both were at least we all had some connection to PC gaming. For example, my boyfriend plays PC games, so I know a little bit about that from him, but I don't play them. But it was really clear that it's a really saturated market. And there's a lot of different like sizes of developers. When we looked at how many games separated by developer, the difference is astounding that you have like some developers that put out 200 in the past 10 years and then some that put out one and a lot put out like two or three or seven. So that felt like the right kind of questions to ask is how do small developers and big developers compete with each other?
Yeah, it's a really great one. I love that you guys included SimCity. SimCity, I remember playing, I'm so old, and SimCity was out. I remember it when it came out, and I would play it on my computer all summer long when I was in like high school, maybe middle school. But so I'm a big fan of that game. So beyond the business recommendations that you guys found, how was working with such a large data set, doing the EDA, which is like the data cleaning part, and splitting those tasks between all of you?
Honestly, it was a really fun data set to work with. Sorry, Brittany.
No, no, you're
Um,
fine. Go ahead.
I was just because I had a lot of fun like cleaning it. There's a lot of there were a lot of numbers, so it was really easy to visualize with Tableau and with the tools that we've learned at TripleTen. Um, yeah, I don't know. Brittany, do you have anything to add?
Was just saying that the data cleaning was my favorite part too, and just exploring the data and finding different avenues to approach it, and just consulting back with the team on, oh, I found this out. Oh, if you use
Mhm.
this method, you'll get this. So it was just very fun and just the collaboration in between all three of us.
Yeah.
Super great. Well, I think you guys did a really great job. The results you came up with were very clear, really actionable, and the visual choices you guys made all along the way were really supportive. So I think you did a great job.
Thank you,
All
Tiffany.
right. That is our player one first team of the evening with Brittany Williams, David Seto, and Courtney Ignis. And now we're going to go to our second team, which is the Datalytics with Hasib Vora, Mary Ford, and Comfort Tulasi.
Thank you, Tiffany.
So, Comfort, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
you're good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We are the team Datalytics, and I would love to introduce my team to you. Hasim, Mary, and myself, Comfort. Welcome to our team. I'm Comfort. I bring a lot of data creativity to the product, to the projects, brainstorming scenarios and helping build the project. For Mary, Mary is our storyteller. She was a great in helping look at the data and build a story, what that means for the project. And I would like to introduce Hasim to you. Hasim is our visualization expert. He played a huge role in converting the data into a great visuals that are easy to understand. I would like to hand over to Hassan.
Thank you, Comfort. Hello,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
So the dataset that we have selected is the VR Steam. And in this data, we had a lot of insights. There were developers' data, there were publishers' data. There is a lot of user engagement, the player time, the active players, and the insights we could come up with were things like the market share, what are the top games being played, if they are free, if they are paid. Our understanding initially with VR games were pretty different, and when we dig inside into this data set, so there were a few surprising observations that we monitored. So before deep diving into the actual data set and our visualization, I would like to share a little bit of why we selected this VR Steam dataset. So I had the privilege to participate in the previous code pudding as well. And in the previous one, we selected the data which was only one sheet, comparatively quite clean data. So in this one, the team was ready to challenge, to stretch a little bit. So this data set, we had multiple sheets which we had to combine to come up with our insights. Along with that, the data was not clean. So there was a lot of coding involved, which was to like eliminate a few characters before, a few characters afterwards. The data was not rightly stored. So there were integers as string, and there were a few strings with as something different. So before going into the visualization part, we had to do a lot of brainstorming, a couple of sessions to ensure that the data is fully ready for the visualization part. Now, with that, I would like to ask Mary to take the charge and share a few visualization observations.
So the first thing that we looked at was the downloads for each game. And what we found, which kind of shocked us, was that in the VR realm, we see a lot of people are more willing to pay for games and a lot less engagement on the free spectrum. So you can see here that 72% of all of the games sold fall under that paid category, which to us, that means users aren't deterred by purchasing games. They're willing to buy what they like and spend more on the games that provide a better experience. When you look at your top games, these are your top 10 games based on how they sell. In this chart, you see that War Thunder and Phasmophobia
Yeah.
really blow it out of the water. And in fact, their downloads more than double anybody else in the entire area. So you can see that you've got some pretty heavy hitters that are really taking up a lot of the space in VR. And that really plays into your market share. When you look at the developers that are running the market, you can see that it's pretty heavily concentrated, with the top 10% of developers owning over 50% of the market, which doesn't leave a lot of new room for new developers to break in. The top two also have a huge share of the market, which are those top two games that you see sold. And now that we know a little bit more about the downloads and how people are engaging on the download side, Hasib's going to talk about the popularity and the social side of the games.
Thank you, Mary. So here, if you notice, to our understanding was that usually in the apps, in the cellular games, most of the free games are more popular, and people are kind of reluctant to pay for those games. But on the contrary, to our surprise, here in the VR industry, most of the paid games are popular, as you can see here. And this is because people usually like to have complex gamings, better user experience, the games which have more depth. And the methodology that usually is popular in the cellular industry, that with free games, there is advertisement. So this is being kind of discouraged over here. So this shows that there is still a lot of room to have paid games and bring them on the marketplace in the VR industry. Now, one of the things that we noticed along the side that the general trend of the VR industry and VR gaming industry is declining. If you see that after 2022, these are the top best games of the VR industry so far, and they all have a declining trend. And this shows that the overall industry is going through a downfall. So perhaps there is a need of adding some innovative features, maybe some new add-ons to really boost this industry and pick it up. With that, I would like to ask Mary again to share the recommendations.
So all of that data brings us to some final recommendations. The first one being that since paid games are more popular among users, publishers and developers should really focus all of their energy on developing games that have a killer user experience. Engage a methodology that's going to increase revenue based on the price of the games and not worry as much about providing free services. In addition to that, having advertisements in games is not going to be very effective in the VR world. Most of the free games that are going to rely on advertisements as a revenue stream are not that popular, with the exception of War Thunder. So our efforts are better spent on that paid segment. As far as the popularity goes, the general trend is declining in VR. We need to watch this closely, especially going into 2023. If we continue to see that trend go down, there's going to be a strong need for new innovation in the VR realm. So really focus our energy on creating new products and creating things that are going to entice people to really engage and interact with our systems. Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate your time and would love to open it up for any questions.
All right, that was great. Also, pillar slide deck. So really excited about that one too. Definitely in my color palette for sure. So you guys highlighted a lot of the VR pieces, and I thought that was super interesting because it kind of the data that you guys are presenting kind of I don't know, flies in the face of all the things we see in the media, right? Like everywhere I turn, it seems like there's a VR this and a VR that, and that's the next edge of gaming. But the data just didn't show that. Is that an accurate kind of takeaway?
That's
Yes.
really what we found as well. We went into this entire data set with a bunch of assumptions and a bunch of theories. And as we kept looking at it, it kept morphing where this project was going because what we expected to find wasn't the reality.
Hasib, go ahead.
Yes. So again, there are few things which you like as a techie, you have like assumption that, okay, usually I go on the Play Store, I download free apps. I prefer if something is for free, and usually you are reluctant to pay for something. But in this industry, whenever we went like deep down, everything that was like most popular, most searches, most playtime, that was like paid games. So this is something new to learn.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I, again, would have thought the complete opposite. So, how was it working together as a team? I know that you said that you had joined one of our other code puddings. How was it this second time around versus the first time? I know the first time kind of nerve-wracking, second time much more comfortable.
Yes, first time it was like pretty smooth because the data set that we selected was like quite a simple one, and it like sailed really smoothly. So we selected the data set. We said that okay, it's more or less clean. Let's start playing with it. We assigned a couple of scenarios to each the team, and they built those scenarios, and we just gathered it together and presented it. This time around, so we said that okay, let's challenge ourselves. Let's select more complicated. So we would get on a call. We will see that okay, this data set has this problem. We need to eliminate. Let's start writing a code. So we will write a code. Mary will write something. Then I would write something. And then she said, okay, I'm getting this error. I'm getting this error. Then we like combine the code. We'll see that okay, let's just change this. Let's just change that. Then Comfort will share some ideas that okay, what if we do this and approach it that way? And bingo. So like it was like on every call we are achieving something, and we are slowly moving forward. And then okay, after 2 3 calls, the data is all set. Let's move to the visualization part. So that was amazing.
That's great. Sounds like you guys had a real easy time figuring out like who needs to do what and how to flow together. So super wonderful.
We spent a
Fantastic.
lot of time on calls today, on calls this past week, and it was really fun. Our chat probably looks like gibberish to most of the world because it is just different ideas on how to get the right code.
No, I think that's great. I mean, that's the best part about it. And again, I keep saying it, but like all of my teammates are all remote. I see them once or twice a year for a lot of those like corporate plannings or things like that. But other than that, like you got to be able to jam remotely and make it work and be excited because you are going to be on a lot of calls with people. So it really is important to get along. So I'm glad to see that you guys were able to really find a flow there. All right, so that's the Datalytics. So make sure if you like their presentation, you vote for them in the chat or in the hub for their audience award. And that team consists of Hasid Vora, Mary Ford, and Comfort Tulasi. And then we're on to our last team of the evening. And this one is going to be a team effort, a team effort. So the first teammate is going to present live. And then I've got a couple of recorded ones for the other team members who weren't able to be here with us live. So there's going to be a little bit of moving and shaking. But the next team is Control Alt Elite. Great play on words. And that is Gira Villegas, Jordi Solis, and Megan Socolo. All right, so you're first, right? Oh, you gotta unmute first, sweetie. Oh no, we've lost the vocals. All right, Jared, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. All right, I see myself. That's nice. Good haircut. I like it. I wonder what is happening. Yeah. All right, why don't you pop out and then try to pop back in? It's the favorite thing in technology. Turn it off and turn it back on again. Fantastic. You know what we need to do is we need to have the QA team on here as well. The students that are doing all the QA things, that's what we need. For when these things come up, then they could like troubleshoot it for us and help us find the bugs. All right, we're just going to give a moment for Jira to come back on. Unless she decided to take a cruise. Oh, here she comes. Nope. Perhaps the mic itself is turned off or your computer is looking for a different microphone.
Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
Great. Now, sorry, people. Okay, I'm sharing my screen again. This is
Good. You got that
the
one big
nightmare of the
mistake out of the way.
presentation.
It's going to
Love
be
it.
great.
I love it. Anyway, can you hear my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. So in our team, Control Alt Delete, just thought about consulting a firm, and then we come up with this story. Pixel Peak Games was founded by three friends who left their day jobs to chase a dream, crafting unique story-driven experiences. After modest success on PC, they're ready for their first major release. But with limited resources and no room for costly mistakes, they face a critical question. Which consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch? should they target, and which genres perform best across platforms. So they ask us to analyze platform risk, spotlight the best fit opportunities, and reveal which platform genres offer the highest chance of success. So this is Control-Alt-Delete objective, to assist Pixel Peak on leveling up from indie roots to playing the console game. And when we come to the first slide, so we're diving in, starting from a higher view of our analysis. So we analyzed 3,272 games from 2017 to 2022. And then when we see our engagement metrics show that PlayStation 4 and Switch consistently attract higher review volumes. Let me see here. Let me start it. High review volumes with high engagement from their users, with having PC, PlayStation 4 stand out for fan sentiment. And then genre-wise, and what we can see also here with the Metascore average for all the games. And then for genre, we can see that the major releases are, of course, the action, adventure, role-playing. But with that also, you can see that those are, with high dominance, they are also higher scored by the public. So these are our starting points for a strategic alignment. And then when we go forward to the platform risk and market strength, we can see that we assess the platform risk by looking at the exclusivity of the games, and then which ones were across the different platforms. They are multi-platform. So in these things, we come with the insights that Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are safe bets for reach. PlayStation 4 and PC offer target opportunities because of the broad the user base that they have, and then the monetization potential through exclusives. Now, Switch is a high risk unless, because there are opportunities there, unless our intellectual property tone aligns with Nintendo audiences. So these are information that we don't know because it depends on what are the tones or the intellectual property that they are developing in their firm. But then this gives us an idea of how exclusivity and saturated market works for them with this too. And then Regina is going to present the next part when we are diving into the awards recognition and the key findings on genre consistency through platform.
All right, this is my time to shine. Oh,
Thank
nope.
you.
See, I already messed up. I didn't click the right button. Just when you think you're doing well. Okay, here we go. I got the sound shared. All right, let's make that bigger. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Megan Regina Socolo, and I am going to be presenting my portion of our project for Control-Alt-Delete. So we're first going to look at our awards and recognition. This chart looks at awards and recognition by platform, split into first, second, and third place awards. What's interesting here is that the PlayStation and computer consistently perform at the top across categories, while the Switch shows competitive recognition in certain genres. The Xbox One appears, but it trails behind with fewer standout wins. For an investment decision, this suggests platforms like PlayStation 4 and the computer are safer anchors for critical success. While the Switch could be considered a complementary platform when targeting specific genres. And then we're going to go over to our genre consistency throughout the platforms. We start by looking at the genre consistency across all platforms. What stands out here is that some of the genres are almost entirely locked in to one system. For instance, your horror and your MMO are locked to one console. However, others like puzzles and sports show a much broader spread across platforms, meaning that you translate more easily to different audiences. When we narrow down this view down to just the top 6 genres, the story gets more focused. Action and role-playing and strategy genres are strong with cross-platform consistency, giving them a lower risk for a developer looking to go broad. On the other hand, action and RPG is heavily concentrated on a single console, which makes it high reward but also higher risk. Taken together, this tells us that if we want a safe bet for cross-platform success, we should lean into genres like action and strategy. But if we want to double down on platform strength, targeting something like action RPG would make sense as long as it's paired with the correct system.
In this chart, we can see the average Metacritic scores for genres across all platforms. Our key observations are average scores have very slight variance in all platforms. This suggests that a well-made game is well received regardless of its platform. Highest Metacritic scores signal a competitive market with high user expectations. This could indicate a risky environment for a new game. At the same time, a genre with lower scores on a specific platform could signal a potential opportunity. But if the scores are too low, this may indicate that its user base is less receptive to those type of games for that platform, signaling a higher risk of poor performance. By filtering for mid to low average scores, we can identify genres that perform well consistently across all platforms. This serves as a strong indication of a safe and profitable market to enter, with enough room to grow while avoiding fierce competition. As the top results, we have action, action-adventure, adventure, and role-playing, with the honorable mentions of puzzle, racing, sports, and strategy, excluded because these options did not perform well in the award analysis. Next, now that we have our top genre choices, we can now explore other key metrics. First, we have our game distribution bar chart, which shows the total number of games available for each genre platform combo. This gives us a clear view of the market landscape. Next, the game percentage table reveals what percentage of all games on a given platform belong to a specific genre. This is our primary tool for assessing competition risk. From these two visuals, we immediately saw that PC and Switch have the largest total numbers of games, indicating a massive user base. However, we also noticed that genres like action are highly saturated, representing nearly 30% of all games with relatively low engagement. To go deeper, we used our competition risk assessment table. This table combines the engagement scores generated by adding critic and user reviews with the percentage of total games. Here's some key findings. Adventure is an underexplored genre with only 20% of games belonging to this field. Action-adventure stood out with the best engagement to competition ratio and strong performance. Finally, role-playing emerged as the most consistent and low-risk option, with high engagement scores and a balanced distribution across all metrics. After reviewing the data, we arrived to two distinct strategies, each with its own benefits. Option 1 is, if your primary focus is to minimize budget and production cost, we recommend developing an action-adventure game for PC, Switch, and PlayStation 4. By focusing on these consoles, you'll tap into established user bases with millions of players. You'll bypass the intense competition of the newest consoles and capitalize on a genre that's currently underutilized on these platforms. This approach lets you deliver a fresh award-winning experience to proven markets while enjoying lower production cost by avoiding the hardware demands of newer consoles. Next, our option is for risk mitigation approach. If your main priority is to minimize market risk, we highly recommend a role-playing game for PC, Switch, and Xbox One X and Xbox One. This genre consistently performs strongly across all platforms. The PC and Switch provide the largest user base, while choosing Xbox may provide easier optimization, as its architecture is compatible with Microsoft. This choice provides a large user base and low competition market, making it the most secure option for your next release. In conclusion, both of these paths offer a strong chance of success. Your final decision should depend on whether you prioritize cost savings or risk mitigation.
Okay. Let me go ahead and stop sharing. All right, Jira, time to chat. So, first of all, who is playing horror VR games? Like, that sounds like a terrible idea. I cannot understand that that's even a genre. But more importantly, how was your code putting experience with the other two?
You're
Oh, you're
muted,
muted.
Jared.
Mute. Thank you. No, it was a little challenging due to personal reasons from my teammates, but then we worked really hard at the beginning. It was just this last day that things come
Yeah.
a little wired, but then a lot of chatting. One of the challenges was matching our times together, but
Hmm.
there were a lot of sharing on files and a lot of chatting through Discord in order to analyze how to approach it. We were cleaning for 2 days the data because that's the time that it took us to just work together, and then we were working for 3 days in how to distribute everything that going from higher perspective to narrow down to the conclusions that we came up, and we distribute the work. As I said, that just it was just the last day that um, like things happen, life happens, and that's how they. But then we were always engaged and committed, and that's how it shows with the results. But then it's always challenging. The first, this is my second time, so it was fun all the way. It was great to share perspective, and that's something that I always enjoy, and they enjoyed as well on sharing and the discussions, and for sure, like you're on your head when you're seeing this big data and you come up with different ideas, but then when you are talking and discussing, that's when the juice comes, and we came up with this, and I'm really proud of what we did.
Yeah, and I think that you bring up a really great point. Like sometimes you got to just kind of push through and work when you can, and when you can't, you can't. And it's really tough with all of the like life and normal curriculum stuff going on with the program. These these puddings and jams can be really challenging just in terms of prioritizing and trying to be reliable for others. So you guys seem to come up with a lot of really great information though. And even using the PC data again, it still boggles my mind that like the height of some of these games compared to other genres of games, it's like a no-brainer. And so it's just wild to see in the visualizations you guys used. Did you guys have any favorite visualizations that you really enjoyed?
When it comes to visualizations, um, I don't know how to put it. Again, the hard part, because you come up with different ideas. Visualizations are 1,000. I was at the first day, I was just making a lot, and then they were also sharing. But then we narrowed down to a story. That's why we create this story. Okay, let's think about PCs highly saturated already. So we were like, okay, what happened if we need to go to another platform? And then with that, we were like, okay, we are consultants. That's what we're doing. This we want to work on BAI, and that's when we were like, okay, let's think on how to bring this, like all these numbers, to a strategy to move to these other platforms, because there are people who might be doing this right now.
Hmm.
uh, as they were talking, like there are many developers, and they are like big developers, but I also have small developers that are still working. They are in their dreams and working on this. So that's where we put our shoes on, and it was like, okay, let's do it. What we enjoy the most of course, ratings, it was fun. And then when we were looking at exclusivity, that's when, like, bling, that's when, like, okay, that's when we see saturated, undersaturated. And then, of course, we understood, because I had to read a lot. I'm not going to lie, I don't know much about this industry. So I had to read a lot about basic concepts to put ideas clear. Jordy was the one that knew a little more, and they were like, okay, let's if we say cross platform or multi-platform, what should we use? Should we use platforms? So we talk about consoles. It was funny things, details, but then that's when we were working on the exclusivity. That's when things pop up, and then we were working with um, the Metascore information and the user data, and then the like and dislike, because you could see more or less. You don't have the numbers, as you say. We lack some numbers, like how much people have bought this or played this. So we were working on, okay, how much people are uh, giving their opinions about this. And that's how we come up with these conclusions about how the market was saturated and where the risk lies.
Yeah, really great points that you brought up there. And I think you're right to kind of hit on that storytelling aspect first to kind of guide you. So, really great job. That was our last team of the evening. That is Control Alt Elite, and that is Yera Villegas, Jordi Solis, and Megan Socolo. All right, so that wraps it up for us in this code pudding. So thank you all for watching either repeat or watching live. Thank you to our students for joining with us this evening and putting in all the time and the effort to make these projects. It's really impressive that you guys take such mind-numbingly overwhelming data sets that are huge and actually make them into something that is actionable, right? Like it's just like magic every time. So thank you so much. I really think you guys did a great job. Remember, if you have a favorite project, a favorite team, you can vote on the hub if you are a student of ours. And if you're not a student of ours, then you can vote either in the live chat or you can vote in the comments when you watch on replay. Our winners will be announced on our hub and socials on October 3rd. And since we have had such fun talking to all of the teams, I want to say thanks to everyone on my team that helps all of this kind of go off without a hitch. And that is Arena, Omar, Elena, Natasha, Olivia, Dennis, Anastasia, and of course, my cat Sharkbait. And then if you need to find me, my name is Tiffany Hall. You can find me at Tiffany Codes on Instagram, tiffanycodes.com online, and you can find Sharkbait probably trying on a VR headset for himself. Wonder if he'll be able to catch mice this way. Stay tuned. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Have a great evening, and I will see you for the next